Today's transmission will be on the darker side of manifestation, and unfortunately, the side of manifestation that most of us are frightfully familiar with. My name is Lucian St. James, and I thank you for co-creating this moment here with me on Divine Within, where we remember the power within, the kingdom within, and that reality bends from within. This will be a brief one. I had a friend who's bit older than I, and he is going through a round of chemotherapy, which uh, is maybe not what I would advise. But we're just in passing, and they're telling me about their chemotherapy and how it didn't actually hit until the fourth round, all of the symptoms. But listen to this, listen to what happened. And it didn't come out of nowhere, because generally, I mean, me and this person had been talking about just like positive thinking, and I don't get into the whole, you are an individualized expression of God, you are everything that it can be, your agreements and your attention are what dictate the quality and the experiences and largely the content of your reality. I don't say all of that with them. I just say, so we've been going back and forth and, getting hyped up. I'm like, this is going to be no big deal. Don't even worry about it. Just gotta go in, go out. They had, I don't know how many rounds total. And the first 1, 2, and 3 rounds, they were like, I got it. This is, no big deal. And so I hadn't seen them for a little bit, and I came back and they were, on a later round, and they were doing it every 3 weeks. And they said, yeah, it wasn't until the fourth round that I really started feeling sick. And actually, the doctor had told me around the second round that they were surprised that I was walking, and again, I don't know anything about medical treatments or really, the specifics of any of this, but the doctor said that they were really surprised that I wasn't vomiting, that I wasn't sleeping all the time, that I wasn't having all of these symptoms. And by the fourth round, everything they said would happen and worse. And I'm feeling worse. And I'm sitting here thinking that my reality, my screen of consciousness, is showing me exactly what happens. 1, when you listen to other people. 2, when you allow somebody else's perspective to become your internalized agreement. And 3, the power of our agreements in general, because it's not the one-off thoughts. Now, you can have a one-off thought and that's a flicker of a reality that does exist, but like a thought is a thought largely. It's like a cough, it's like a sneeze. It doesn't really have much pressure to it, much energetic magnetism. Now, thoughts repeated over a certain time with a certain emotional intensity. Not that you need to hype yourself up all the time, but when I say emotional intensity, I guess I would refine intensity to maybe more normalcy, maybe a felt sense of presence of said emotion. But anyway, you pull those two things together, and that's how you get a state of being. And the state of being is what you are experiencing. You're not experiencing anything else other than yourself. And if you have changed, I'm going to get back to the cancer story. If you've changed your state of being and it still feels like reality itself hasn't changed, you're hearing echoes. You're seeing it. There's this Neville Goddard quote. It's quite long, but in the quote, and I don't even remember what it was from, it might have been your faith is your fortune, but he talks about how there are certain animals that once you cut their head off, they'll kind of continue to maneuver and manipulate themselves and thrash about. And it might seem as though they are actually alive, but it's really just like electromagnetism and neurochemistry and hormones and all this other stuff that's basically, it's still active. So it still is in some way kind of like animating the physicality, the physiology of the body, while there's not a consciousness necessarily attached to it because the head has been chopped off. So it's talking about really how things can move, can appear to continue moving because there was a life source flowing through them. And just because you cut the head off, just because you cut the consciousness off, meaning just because you stop making certain agreements of a particular reality, the remnants and the energetic momentum of that previous reality, you will see aftershocks. You will see the dead body moving and screaming. You will get calls back from people in your old reality that you left behind because you're not in a new frequency, or if not people altogether, you'll get calls from the version of that person that is still, it's that head that was chopped off. It's still thrashing about. It still appears to be moving, but it's not actually here. It's not actually alive. So you're only ever seeing yourself and or the remnants of your previous agreements, and both of those things are happening in the eternal now. So anyway, I'm sitting here thinking that the screen of my consciousness, this friend of mine, is, in real time saying that they went in, they were hyped, they were positive, it was no big deal. Doctor told them that, and what would a doctor kind of represent, right? A medical authority. Don't we all have authority figures? So our authority figures, be they the government or your parents growing up or the school system or whatever the powers may be, we're all living in a matrix situation and simulation where there is a relative powers that be for all of us individually in one way or the other. Now, you don't have to agree to submit to those powers that be, but recognizing that they are all there, we internalize those ideas, we allow that authority, we trust that authority, and we think that my agreements should be in alignment with the authority, because again, it's not the thoughts, it's your agreements, meaning what do you determine is true for your reality. True? What do you know to be true? Because the things that you know to be true are not factual in and of themselves. They are versions of the infinite and all truth that you observe because you decided to say that I believe in this with enough conviction that I've created a type of internal bias and consistency for myself that I look for this information regardless of if it's there or not, because it's what I know to be the case per whatever topic, domain, aspect, form that we're talking about. So anyway, moral of the story, a moral of the unfortunate story, person was doing fine. This is somebody I see every now and again. Consider him a loose friend. Check in on him. Rounds 1, rounds 2, they're great. They get to rounds 3 and rounds 4 simply because somebody told them that they should be a lot sicker. An authority figure told them that they should be a lot sicker. Now, what is this parallel to? The government tells you the economy's down because of whatever conflict is going on. And then all of a sudden you start feeling more broke. You start feeling as though, oh God, maybe the bread rose 13 cents. And I know 13 cents is maybe a lot for some of us, but that's a matter of perspective and of focus. Are you going to focus on the 13 cents or are you going to focus on the fact you can afford a loaf of bread? You have to pick a focus there. Is everything going to hell in a handbasket because of 13 cents or can I eat? That's pretty cool. That's all right. I can afford the loaf of bread. So all of a sudden, I was talking to a friend and she's like moving in with her partner and things are going well there. And she was talking about dinner options, and apparently he made the joke that, he likes the protein. And she was like, oh, God, meat's so expensive. And again, I hear this all the time. And I was like, meat is not expensive. And we were doing like a price breakdown relative to other things. And she's like, well, when you put it like relative to other things, and like, yeah, it's like not that expensive. I'm like, see, it's how you're thinking about it. But the liberal media, which I'm not liberal or conservative, I just like to say that. I think about Clayton Bigsby, if you've ever seen that, Dave Chappelle skit, which is just outrageous. But I was like, the liberal media told you can't afford groceries. And I'm like, show me the numbers, for 2 people per what they spend on other things. And she's like, all right, Again, that's a standard thing. It has nothing to do with even the person I was talking to. I hear it all the time. I hear it all day. We just have these ideas implanted in us. We make these agreements that, oh, things are terrible. Things are shit. I should be scarce. I should feel afraid. I should... I'm out here spending X amount of dollars on all types of other things, but I can't afford meat, which really says, and whatever you think about meat, fine, but I can't afford nutrients. I can't afford sustenance. And again, like that's a programming idea. You look at the actual, now, fine, maybe you can't afford to eat Wagyu every night. Okay, but that, they've got it in our heads and like, you just simply can't afford to eat healthy. Now, again, if you got kids, and I don't have kids, so I know kids eat different things. And feeding a family is different, but like most of us are out here, even at least what I hear on a daily basis, like just concerned about like, am I going to be able to afford to eat? Meanwhile, spending X amount of dollars on all types of things and phone games and streaming services and all this other stuff, and then we're like, oh god, I can't eat, and it's just like, who told you that? Like, somebody impregnated your mind with that, and it's an emotionally compelling idea. It's sensational. It's very charged. We respond to emotional charge, be that charge, positive or negative. We respond to charge. So then, that's why fear is so potent, because most of us are already in a state of fear, and that's why, as the last point, it seems easier to manifest negative things, because if you're already, and I won't say like in a negative vibration, but if you look at that map of consciousness, and if you're vibrating primarily at doubt, maybe you doubt yourself a lot. You could be performing, I could be talking to a people-pleasing perfectionist that is actually operating at the top of their company, appears to be a leader, and is in a vibration of doubt. So I'm not even talking about necessarily like, are you in a negative vibe? Is your life going to hell in a handbasket? I don't mean that, but I mean, if you primarily look out in the world and you don't trust, and you feel a sense of doubt, and you feel this general, you have this sensation of fear that might create a kind of hypervigilance or just general anxiety, simply by living, just by existing. Nothing's even happening. You don't have to be triggered. That is going to create conditions that are always conducive to that. So then when you decide that I'm going to start vibrating at joy, and I'm going to start affirming joy for myself, and joyful relationships, and a joyful state of being, and a joyful perspective, and I'm going to start meditating on gratitude, and I'm going to start being present with myself, and you decide that this is my new reality. It happens absolutely the moment that you determine that it happens. However, because there's so much momentum here, there's so much electricity flowing in that dead body. This is easier. This doubt, and this fear, and this scarcity. This is easier to resonate with. This is easier to observe. This is easier to continue participating in. This is easier to continue, essentially, this here being, because you've been in harmony with it for so long. So when you jump up here and you try to start seeing things that way, and you do not try, there's no try, there's only do, and you are, and you're being in that, why does it seem so easy that you get something in the mail, or you get a text message, or something happens, and it's like, and I'm right back down to doubt, scared, pissed off, confused? And then the more that it seems that you observe the world that way, the more that type of stuff happens. And it's like, but I'm trying my best to stay here. And it's distinctly because you're trying. And that old reality will kind of flicker in and out. And you have to then decide at that point in time, am I going to respond from this new, joyful, gratitude, loving, abundant, whole, divine vibration? And here's the thing, you have to be willing to experience all of it. I mean, you can't make any of it go away. So we're not talking about just like acting like that stuff is not there. You can observe the circumstance and still not decide that the consequence of this circumstance, it doesn't have to define me. It might even be something I have to materially navigate, but it's not this, if I lose a friend, I'm not the essence of loss. That person, for whatever reason, fell out of my reality. Doesn't mean I'm worthless. That's what we think. That's what I mean. So you can't bypass any of this. But again, in that situation, are we vibrating at joy and at gratitude? Is this a chance for me to spend more time with myself and to be more present for myself, given this person that I lost? Or is this an opportunity for me to feel more doubt, more fear, more dread? And it seems so much easier. So then because that neutral thing over there happened, meaning a friend loss, and we were already vibrating at doubt, fear, and negativity, and dread and lack, and we were trying to observe joy. God, we were trying so hard. We were doing all the tips and tricks and techniques to try to observe joy. And then we lose that friend. We then think there's no point in even doing any of this. Bad stuff keeps happening, when actually this was a neutral event. How are we going to interpret it? Was this person perhaps maybe just incompatible with the new frequency that I'm occupying? And it's unfortunate that I lost them, and I'm going to grieve them, and I'm going to go through that, but I'm going to keep maintaining myself. We shall have dips. Nobody's perfect at this. Or is this neutral thing over here, this friend loss, is this just all the more evidence that I'm never going to manifest my heaven on earth? I'm never going to live as that which I desire, because the minute that I started focusing my attention and consciously vibrating at the level of joy on the scale, the map of consciousness, which is Dr. David R. Hawkins, then I lost this person. So that's all the more evidence. So everything happening in your, your power of meaning, your attention and your agreements, that's what's creating your reality around you. And then the stuff that kind of pops up that it's like, that doesn't look like joy, assign joy to it anyway. Or if you can't assign joy to the circumstance, assign joy to yourself. Always assign, that which that which you wish to see out there, it starts in here, always. And I remember, is the last thing I'll say, quite a while ago, there was somebody watching the channel, and I don't really do a lot of SP stuff, but I talk. I get on here and just start going. So there's this person, and they were like, talking about these problems that they're having with their SP, and I was like, well, I'm not an SP coach. I'm not a technique coach. I'm not a do this and wait for that type of coach. You just have to decide to be the essence of that love. And now there's the Heaven on Earth Source Codex. There's a Heaven on Earth Source Codex. Now there's the Heaven on Earth Source Codex that is attached to everything. So definitely check that out. That's there for you, available for free. It's just my methodology of how to remember your divinity, how to remember that you're God, and to practice that and to activate that, everything. So this would be tenet 1 on positioning here today. Every single transmission that I do is one of those, is a focus really on one or more of those tenets of the 7 of the Heaven on Earth. But gosh, what was I was about to launch into something else. That this person, they were talking about an SP, and I didn't have my methodology formalized at that point in time, but I was like, you just have to be it, and in being it, I don't mean just be it, but that essence of love comes from within. So whatever it is that you hope to see reflected in him, you have to give that to yourself first. And sure, that can include visualizations with a specific person. But I said, I'm more or less not. I'm not at all focused on the presence of the other person, but really more the presence of yourself that seems to be so devoid of love that you have. So again, this is tenet 1, positioning. This is also 4 with power placement, coming back to the power within. The power that you have assigned to this person over here that is dictating the quality of love that you feel in your life. What you're saying is that they've got the love that you've got to get and that you don't have it. So in order for you to get it, you've got to get them. But the idea that you have to go get something over there would imply that you don't have it, and you'll only get what you already have. And she didn't like that answer. I'm not really an SP coach, but I was just saying that, like, in terms of if that would, whatever that would look like for you, if that would look like morning breakfast, if that would look like family time, if it would look like movie night, if it would look like a sense of security, if it would look like a sense of belonging, if it would feel as though, because she wanted children with this individual as well, if it would feel like you had people around you that, because I don't have this idea of family, but many people have the idea of family, and many people have kids. I don't know how many heterosexuals that I've talked to ask them why they want to have kids, and they say because the kids can't ever leave me. And I'm like, holy moly, Jesus Jones. Okay, moving on from that. I won't comment there. I don't need to comment on everything. What was I talking about? God damn it, I keep getting off topic. But anyway, just like what you would feel if you had this family, this sense of like the idea that these people are always going to be here, that which again, I guess we'd go back to really just trust and security. I mean, most of what we want is love, trust, security, peace, beauty. That's all of our manifestations. They all come down to those 5 things. If you really want to know the secret, it's not at all about stuff. That's why I don't teach people to get stuff. And if you would like my one-on-one assistance, guidance that would be personalized to the specifics of your manifestation situation, which nobody needs to teach you to manifest, but we would be talking about perhaps barriers in your conscious creation process. Maybe perhaps the problem is that you think there's a process. Which again, read the Heaven on Earth Source Codex. That's an anti-process process. But anyway, so I was just talking about all the different things you'd be, and then she responded to that. She didn't like that very much, and then she said, I don't want to be my own husband, which again, that's maybe why you would need personalized support, because it's like, and I wrote all that out. It was in writing. I wasn't saying like you need to be satisfied with not having this person because they're never going to come. So you have to, like, she was taking it as though, like, be satisfied with his loss and be satisfied with his absence because you're all of it anyway. And that wasn't what I was saying. But again, all of this can be very detailed and very nuanced. I mean, we're talking about shit we can't see. Or, so everybody has the rule book to manifestation. I think it's different for everybody. I mean, even just with birth charts and cosmology and numerology, I don't think everyone has. I don't think that there's one spiritual path, that there's one way to manifest. I think I've seen like something called like systematic manifesting, and people have a lot of luck with that. It absolutely made no sense to me, made things a lot harder. And I love the presenter though, and love the style, but just for me, it just wasn't for me. And that then doesn't mean, okay, well, I can't manifest because of this one method. But anyway, so back to what I was saying with this person. And it wasn't about, so there's lots of nuances in all of this, right? It wasn't be happy with his absence. It was understand that there is no absence so long as you don't assign one. Because everything out there is a representative container. It's a shell. It's not the actual thing. It's a representation of the meaning and the emotional charge that you have assigned to that thing. And that's why the things that we get, we're only really ever getting more of us or an echo of us. But it's all you anyway. I mean, the good, but we're all one thing. I mean, so you're seeing your agreements, but also like we're all one thing. So we can only, all of us, you summoned me to tell you, to help you remember, because I'm not telling you anything. That we can only all be the versions of ourselves that we've agreed to see within. So it wasn't about be happy with, you just be okay being single and be your own husband because, you have to you can't manifest him. It was really just more about, if you feel absent of love, him or know him, you could manifest him. You could force and squeeze, I don't know, somehow get a manifestation out of him being there physically. And if you don't have love within you, or you don't believe you deserve love, or if you have blocks and barriers and subconscious patterns of repeated thought that tell you something negative about love, that's all you're going to see. He could be there, not be there. That doesn't actually matter. So, wrapping up this transmission of Divine Within, I do appreciate you sharing this time with me. My name is Lucian St. James, and remember to be good to yourselves and others, because everyone's just a version of you anyway.